Hello students, welcome to the Business Law session for B.B.A 5th semester. So today, as I mentioned in my previous class, I will be discussing about contingent contract and quasi contracts. So these can be asked. Contingent contract, what is contingent contract? They may ask you for 2 marks, or they may ask you what is a quasi contract. That is in 2 marks, or sometimes there may be a 5 marks question. What is a quasi contract, and state the examples of quasi contracts. So this is what mainly the question may appear in your examination. So keeping that in view, we will discuss mainly here what is meant by a contingent contract. Then I will be discussing quasi contract. So there is no as such a definition of a quasi contract. I will just explain you the nature of the quasi contracts, why they are called as quasi contracts, whether they are enforceable or not, that we will be discussing, and I will just discuss these examples. So this can appear for 5 marks, quasi contracts. So keep in your mind, this is an important question, and with this here mainly the question, we are closing the module 1. Module 1 we are ending, and from my next class I will start with the module 2, the performance of the contract. Performance of the contract, discharge of the contract, breach of contract, and remedies for the breach of contract. That will be what in the second module. And third module is specific contracts. Once we complete these 3 modules, almost we have completed 75% of our syllabus. Remaining 25 covers sale of goods and the other 3 small acts: Essential Commodities Act, Consumer Protection Act, and the Right to Information Act. So these will be discussed later. So we will try to understand what is a contingent contract. So earlier we have seen contingent. Contingent means, or what we usually use the word contingency. Contingency means happening of a future event. Happening of a future event. So it is called as contingent contract. Contingent contract is a contract. It is a contract. Section 31 says is a contract to do or not to do something if some event collateral to the contract does or does not happen. This is the definition given. If you remember the definition, give it or put it in your own words. Contingent contract means it is a contract. I am using the word it is a contract. It is enforceable in the court of law. So it is enforceable in the court of law. It is valid. So here contingent contract. When we are using the word, please see that it will be here a valid contract to be understood. So section 31 says here, where the performance of a contract depends upon happening or not happening of a future event. That is here the most important character of this contingent contract. It depends upon happening or not happening of a future event, and that is collateral to the contract, which is very important to the contract. So if that event takes place or that event doesn't take place, then here the question of here the performance comes. So that is contingent contracts. Now for example, the best example I can give you is your insurances. You take it as life insurance, fire insurance, theft insurance, here crop insurance, whatever it is there. Insurances, they are the best example of contingent contract. So you go on paying the premiums there. But when you will receive here the money, that is once that event takes place. So after the death of that person, or if the theft takes place, fire, here mainly against the fire you might have here insured your house. So if a fire takes and your house is burned down, you can claim insurance. Your vehicle insurance will be there. So insurance is a best example for contingent contract. It's a best example what we can. On happening of that event, here the performance of the contract depends. So that is what here it is a contract to do or not to do something. If some event, that event must take place. So it is a future event. The contract is based on the future event. So it is called as a contingent contract. This is what you can give an example. Here the insurances are the best. It is theft insurance. Until the theft takes place, here you will not be entitled here for the claim. Likewise, your life insurance, until the death of the insurer, here the claim will be not there. Your fire insurance will be there. So like this, different here, mainly the insurances we have got only on happening of that event. Now if you remember, earlier I had given one example. A and B make a contract at Bombay. A says that his ship is on voyage with the goods from London to Bombay, and on the arrival he will deliver the goods. So this is what he said. B says on taking the delivery I will make the here payment of the price. This is a contract is established. The ship gets destroyed by a storm. It gets destroyed by a storm. So here, what is the mainly can it be performed? No, it is the contract is a contingent contract here, because the contract is based on happening of an event here. It's an example of contingent contract. That is, the goods must come and he must deliver it to be there. So it is a contingent contract example. So such examples can be given, and 2 marks question will be there on contingent contract. You can here mainly get the question. If you get the question, you should answer in the same way. And lastly, here are the quasi contracts. Here, what are quasi contracts? See, the word used is quasi contracts, resembling contracts. They are not actually contracts. So one of the essential will be missing there. One of the essentials will be missing here of a valid contract. Hence, we cannot make it as a contract. But looking at the circumstances, the law imposes the obligation on the parties. The law imposes the obligation, and such contracts are called as quasi contracts. So where in a contract one of the essentials is missing. The essential is missing there. So when the essential is missing, we cannot call it as a valid contract, and it is not enforceable in the court of law. But the law imposes the obligations on the parties, hence it is enforceable in the court of law. So remember, quasi contracts are also enforceable in the court of law. There, it doesn't mean that quasi contracts one of the essential is missing and here it is invalid. No, it is not so. So it is valid here, and it can be enforced in the court of law. So in this circumstances, I will just like to recall you to the students. We are studied here, no consideration, no contract, some exceptions. Where there is lack of consideration is there, then we have said that the contract is still enforceable there. So the same, the other examples we will be trying to know. Section 68 to 72 deals with the examples of the quasi contracts. They are enforceable in the court of law. The obligation is imposed by the law there. Now, for example, the first one is necessary supplied to a minor during the minority. So any person who supplies the necessaries. So in the law relating to the minor, we have seen what are those necessary means. So it may be food, it may be clothing, it may be education, it may be books, it may be shelter. So any such necessary for here the life, day-to-day essentials, which are supplied by a person to a minor during his minority, here later he can claim the price of the necessaries. So but that question of necessaries is to be determined by the court of law. The law determines whether the thing that has been supplied to the minor is a necessary or not. That is, here the law decides it. So any necessary supplied to a minor during his minority, the price of the necessaries can be claimed by the person supplying it here from the property of the minor here. That is, here it is here one of the essential is missing. What is it? The competency is missing. Minor's agreement is not enforceable. Minor's agreement is void. So we know that it is one of the, here the essential is missing. The competency is missing, but still the law imposes the obligation and it says that it is valid. So it's an example for quasi contract. Likewise, reimbursement to a person paying the money due by another person. So one person pays the money which is due by another person. For example, here X is staying in a rented house and he has paid the rent in advance of 1 year. And here Y, the owner of the house, is here abroad. He has gone abroad. At that time, the municipal authorities issues a notice that here for the previous 3 years, the tax of the house has been not paid. If it is not paid, then the house will be sealed. This is the notice issued. So X receives the notice and says that he is a rented person and he has paid 1 year in advance the rent. But what we find is here Y is the owner, he is in a foreign abroad and X doesn't know in which country he is there. So what X does is to save his mainly the house here from being sealed. Otherwise he has to come down and he has paid here 1 year here advance rent. So to save that and to save here mainly being sealed down and put out of the house, he pays the tax of 3 years. So it is the duty of the owner, Y, when he returns back, the first thing he has to do is he has to reimburse that person. Because the tax was payable by Y, but it is paid by X. So he has to reimburse that. Though there is no here proposal and agreement, the Y has not said anything that you pay the tax. Neither here X here mainly has accepted it. So, but it is circumstances which has made them to do so, act so, and now the owner of the house must pay that tax. That is an example here for this. Another one, obligation of a person enjoying the benefit of non-gratuitous bailment. Non-gratuitous. Bailment are 2 types. We are going to study bailment later in specific contracts. Here, gratuitous and non-gratuitous. Gratuitous means you are doing something to another without expecting anything. That is voluntary. That is gratuitous bailment. Now, like for example, you lend your car to your friends, your function for nearly 3 days. It is out of your mainly the friendship you have given and it's a voluntary. You are not expecting anything there. That is called as a gratuitous bailment. Non-gratuitous means it is you are expecting in something in return. Now you have given here the car for the service. So when you here after the service is over, you pay the labor charge and you get your car back. So it is a non-gratuitous pay. You are given for specific purpose, that is a servicing. So now what is this one? Obligation of a person enjoying the benefits. Now if a person is enjoying the benefit of a non-gratuitous bailment, then he has to reimburse it. The reimbursement is there. For example, A has given his car for service to a garage and here the B, the garage person, he makes the services and uses the car of A for higher purpose before he returns it and gains some profit. A comes to know it. Now the question is whether A can claim it. Yes, definitely he can claim it because it is for the purpose what is there, for service it is given. And it is mainly for service he will be paid by A. Now he has earned something benefit out of that bailment. It is a non-gratuitous bailment. And giving the car for servicing is a non-gratuitous, it is not a gratuitous. So he has earned the profit out of that. Hence, now he has to return back whatever he has earned the profit to the owner of the car. So that is what we speak, obligation of a person enjoying the benefit of a non-gratuitous bailment. And lastly, what is the last example? Finder of lost goods. Finder of the lost goods. So a person who has found the goods belonging to another person. So those goods are not of his own. They are belonging to another person. They here belong to another person and those goods are found. So what is the duty of the finder? He has to trace the owner and return the goods. And in tracing, if he incurs any expenses, then here it is the duty of the owner of the goods to reimburse that person for the expenses. So that is what we finder of the lost goods you can get for 2 marks. Who is a finder of the lost goods? A person who has found the goods of another person, and it is his responsibility to return those goods to the owner, and in that if he incurs any expenses, it is to be reimbursed by the owner. There is no proposal and acceptance here, but it is the law which has put the obligation. So that is the last one, the finder of the lost goods. So these are the examples for quasi contracts. One of the essential will be missing here, but the law has imposed the responsibility. Hence quasi contracts are valid contracts and they are enforceable in the court of law. With this we are ending the module 1, and from my next class I will commence with module 2, performance of the contract. Thank you.